active shooter at Florida State University in Tallahassee. And what we know right now, several people are hospitalized. We're learning at least 4. The extent of their injuries not clear at the moment. We know students who are on campus, they're still under a shelter-in-place order. All of this very fluid right now, a very active situation over at Florida State University. So we'll bring you much more information as we get them. Right now, though, we want to bring in CBS News correspondent Chanel Call, who is following all of this breaking news for us. Chanel, what else do we know right now?
All right, lots to get to here, Mugo. And again, a very fluid situation this hour unfolding in Tallahassee. This campus, we can tell you, Florida State University now in lockdown. Our affiliate WCTV is now reporting as well that 4 people have been hospitalized. Take a look at some of the live images from the scene. You can see just how massive the response has been from emergency crews. Students are now sheltering in place, we're told. All the classes and activities that would take place on campus, those, Mugo, have now been canceled. Again, for people who are just joining us now, this all started over an hour ago at about noon Eastern time. That's when we heard these messages coming through from FSU at around 12 Eastern, Florida State University, issuing this campus-wide alert, warning people to shelter in place because there was an active shooter on scene. You can see that there are multiple first responders on scene, including campus police, state police, FBI, and also hearing ATF is going to be responding to the scene. In terms of where this happened, we're talking about Florida State University's Tallahassee campus. The Student Union building is where the active shooter was reported to be. That was the message that we first got. And important to mention, Mugo, you know, this is a part of campus that typically is pretty vibrant, pretty busy, especially during the lunch hour. And we are learning about injuries this hour. I said that WCTV is reporting 4 injuries. And we know this because the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare representative has said to us in a statement that TMH is now actively receiving and caring for patients related to an incident that occurred at Florida State University. At this time, they say details are still unfolding and, quote, "we do not yet have specific information to share." However, we want to assure the community that our teams are fully mobilized and prepared to provide the highest level of care and support to all those affected. It then goes on to say, we remain in close coordination with emergency responders and public safety officials out of respect for patient privacy and to ensure accurate information. We will provide updates as soon as they are available. So again, no official response from the hospital this hour about how many people are injured, but hearing from our affiliate station, WCTV, they are reporting 4 people were injured. Unclear, though, whether the shooter has been apprehended or whether the shooter is part of that number of people who've been injured. Again, Mugo, this is all unfolding in just the last hour or so. And so we will continue to follow this story. What you're looking at right now is video that was posted on X, formerly Twitter, by, I believe, a student who was on campus and took this video from her window. Again, unclear exactly how many people were injured and whether or not the shooter at this point has been apprehended by police. But FSU is still urging people to shelter in place. The very last message that they sent out moments ago says law enforcement is actively clearing rooms on the main campus. Law enforcement officers will use a safe code Seminole to confirm it is safe to open the door. Continue to shelter in place until law enforcement contacts you. Again, we saw these alerts coming in from Florida State University at around noon Eastern time. So an hour and 17 minutes later, we are still waiting for some more details from the university campus. In terms of guidance, again, Mugo, they're saying that people on campus this hour should just shelter in place until the situation is under control. You can see through our live images here again, just the incredible police and emergency response to the scene this hour. Again, we've got state police, campus police, FBI, and hearing ATF will be responding to the scene as well.
Okay. CBS News correspondent Chanel Call, thank you for that update. Again, if you were just joining us, a very active situation right now over at Florida State University, the Tallahassee campus. An active shooter situation, students being told to shelter in place. We know several people have been hospitalized right now. The extent of their injury still not clear. But I want to send things over to our partners at WFOR in Miami so we can see their coverage from the ground.
Way. And you ran to your car, or where were you running to?
I was just running in the direction that everybody else was running, trying to get out of there. And then once I felt like I was at a safe enough distance, I went to my car to get off campus because I didn't know, where that shooter was going to be going or anything like that.
Did you physically see a shooter?
I did not. I didn't physically see a shooter or anybody get shot. I just heard the shots pretty close to me and saw people running, so I was trying to get out of there too.
And when you talk about running, about how many students were you running with? And was this sort of a stampede? Was everyone just sprinting, running in all different directions, or everybody running sort of in the same direction? And how many students would you say were running in the same direction as you?
I think it took a minute for everybody to process what was going on. So whenever I heard the shots, it was like a couple people running, maybe like 12 or 20 people running out of the direction. And then I looked back and I saw everybody flooding out of the Union and everything. And that was probably like a couple hundred people trying to get out of there.
And I want to pause just for a second because we were just, we see a shot of at least just 3 students running there. And then moments ago, we saw a blurred shot. It looked like maybe someone was being carried out of the vicinity. Their image was blurred, so we don't know the circumstances surrounding that shot. About what time did you hear those first shots, Blake?
I want to say around like noonish. I'm not entirely sure, but it was around, I think it was, probably around noon exactly.
And when you talk about running away from the scene, did you run to a car? Where was your safe spot?
Initially it was my dorm, but there was more people running towards my dorm area too. So I decided I was just going to go to my car and leave.
Mm-hmm. And where are you now?
I'm off campus. I'm completely off campus. I'm probably like 7 miles off campus.
Yeah. What are you hearing from other students, maybe through X or through text or WhatsApp? What are other students saying?
I don't know anybody personally that was over there. I just hear a lot of like in the group chats making sure everybody was safe and everything. And just like rumors, but nothing that like I can confirm or deny. So.
Sure, nothing that can be substantiated at this point. We hear of active shooter situations happening all over the United States, but it must just take a toll different when it happens on your own campus.
Yeah, definitely. It's really surreal. Like, it's still registering to me. Just to think that, like, I'm usually at the Union at that exact time too. So it's just like surreal to me to think that like I could have woke up and gone to class today or anything like that, and my friends could have been going to class and their life be taken or just injured or anything like that. It's very surreal to think about.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Shirley, you've been in touch with your family right now. What was the first conversation you had when you talked to your loved ones?
I called my grandma as I was like running from the area, and I was like, "Hey, there's a shooting." And she was just making sure I was okay, trying to just get as much information as possible, make sure I was safe.
And we're just receiving notification, Attorney General Pam Bondi on X writing, the FBI is on the scene at Florida State and we are in communication with agents on the ground. Our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more, praying for all. And that information just came to us from Attorney General Pam Bondi on X. Let's go to another live interview right now.
Just we got outside and just here we are. We ended up in a church across the street here.
What was that moment like when the 4 of you were here and you knew you were safe?
Just like
really
nothing you've ever felt before, or you could even explain. It's hard to explain. I mean, just we're just blessed. I mean, how we got out of there, I can't. It's kind of surreal being at the church because God was watching over us. I mean, definitely we could have went really bad. I hope all the people pray for their families and that they're okay. We don't know much right now, but.
All right, anything else? That covers it. Thank you so much. I know that's not easy. We don't know what to.
Jacob Murphy there talking to.
All right, we are continuing to monitor the situation. You just heard a live interview from someone at the scene. You're taking a look at a reporter who's on the scene as well, who's been updating us as he learns new information. I want to go back now to Blake. He's a FSU student who evacuated campus when he heard the gunshots. And Blake, you're the first person who actually is reporting physically hearing those shots. Walk us through, for people just joining us. You said you heard 12 shots and then a pause and then about another 15 shots. Walk us through that moment.
Yeah, I was leaving the student union area and I heard about 12 shots go off. I initially thought it was like construction or something, but in the back of my head I was like, those are gunshots, because you could hear the shot and then hear the impact of the bullets. So after those 12 shots, I saw people starting to leave the union, and so I ran as well away from the union. And as I was running, I heard about another 15 shots, 12 or 15 shots.
And as you're running, what goes through your mind?
Just to get away, and anybody who's going in that direction, telling them to go the other way. There's a shooting going on.
And describe the moment when you finally got to the scene, and then you said you went to your apartment and were just able to sort of decompress and process what just happened. I imagine it still feels surreal.
Yeah, I initially went to my dorm, and I realized that people were still running that direction too, so I didn't know where the shooter was going or anything, so I figured I'd just get off campus. So I went to my car and left campus.
And I want to update you right now that sources are telling CBS News Miami that the shooter is in custody and was also shot by police and taken to the hospital. According to reports, we know that a total of right now 4 people are in the hospital being treated, but sources telling CBS News Miami the shooter is in custody. The shooter was also shot by police and taken to the hospital. Blake, you're hearing that news for the first time. The shooter is in custody. What sigh of relief does that bring you right now?
It's relieving to hear, but it's still devastating at the same time that it ever got to this, and that there's people that are hurting right now and families that are in distress.
Mm-hmm. And describe the moment. You said you got to your apartment and the first thing you did, we had to cut you short because we were going to a live interview. You said you got in contact with your grandma. Tell us about that conversation with your grandmother.
Yeah, I called her as I was like leaving the area, like as I was running away. And I was telling her, like, hey, there's a shooting. And she was just trying to make sure that I was safe and okay, and try to get as much information as possible just to make sure I was good.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine how relieved she was to hear your voice. And the latest information, we have been able to confirm right now that a student is in custody, or someone is in custody. That person was allegedly, we're hearing reports, shot by police as well. A total of 4 people in the hospital being treated right now. Thank you so much, Blake, for being with us and sharing your experience. You are the first person that we've spoken with today that is actually near the student union where this happened, and hearing a total of about, you said 30 shots, running from the scene, running to safety, getting to your apartment, and then calling your grandmother and just relaying that news that you were safe. And so we are glad that you're safe, and thank you in the midst of all of this for speaking with us. I want to go back now to our CBS News Miami colleague who's sitting right next to me, who graduated from FSU just 2 years ago. Hearing all of this, shooter is in custody.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, for real.
But your heart must hurt for all your former students right now.
It's hard to process, just after being there for so long, and, being in that exact spot where everything's alleged right now. It's really hard to process. If I had been there, if I was still going to school at that time, you never know. It's just insane to see this happening right now.
And we've reached out to Governor DeSantis, and we'll have his response for you very shortly. We also know that Attorney General Pam Bondi put out a statement on X saying that the FBI is on the scene at Florida State and we are in communication with agents on the ground. Our priority is the safety of everyone involved, and we will continue to update as we learn more, praying for everyone. And I'm going to stay with this shot right now while I pull up Governor Ron DeSantis' Twitter account, because I'm receiving word that he has also just put out a tweet moments ago. He says, this was released on X just 16 minutes ago. He says, our prayers are with our FSU family, and state law enforcement is actively responding. And that is in response to a statement that they put out, FDLE put out, saying that FDLE is actively engaged in the incident on FSU's campus, and we will update the public with more information as soon as possible. But we know the very latest information is that officials saying that they do have the alleged shooter in custody, and that there was some sort of gunfire exchange, and that suspect was shot. But DeSantis now just putting out a statement 16 minutes ago saying our prayers are with our FSU family, and state law enforcement is actively responding to the scene. What are you hearing from your friends?
I haven't heard much yet, to be totally honest. I'm still waiting to hear back. I mean, I am imagining things are okay, but I haven't heard official responses back at the moment.
Sure, yes. Everyone's probably just sort of decompressing now from the incident. We heard a lot of students describe it as just surreal, saying that you hear about these types of things happening on the news, as you do, working in a newsroom or all over the United States, but you never really think that something like this is going to happen in your own backyard.
Exactly, yeah.
And right now, this is a live shot that we've just been staying on for over an hour now. It looks like they're continuing to barricade the scene. We know that they're actively investigating the circumstances, but we heard from a student, Blake Leonard, who literally was near the student union when those gunshots rang out. He reported hearing 12 shots and then a pause. And then he said he heard 15 more shots, possibly a total of 30. And then he said students just started running from the union, and he just followed the students. We heard from another student who was actually in a classroom. Her name was Ava, and she shared with us how her teacher got the alert and told the students in the classroom that there was an active shooter situation and began barricading the door. But still, certain students, because they felt like they were in a safe enough distance away from where the active shooter was potentially, that they could make it to their car, so they still decided to leave the scene and get to their cars and then make it to safety. But families right now, just knowing that that person, the alleged suspect, has been apprehended. Police say that a total of 4 people were potentially hurt and receiving treatment in the hospital, but that the alleged active shooter suspect exchanged in some sort of gunfire with police and was shot and apprehended. We just saw a reporter who's been updating us from the scene, kind of giving us a thumbs up. So we expect he'll have.
And you were just watching our partners at CBS News Miami. They are following breaking news out of Tallahassee, Florida. Multiple people have been hospitalized following a shooting at Florida State University. This is still a very, very fluid situation here. Information coming in minute by minute. But right now I want to bring in CBS News senior coordinating producer Anna Schechter for much more on this. Anna, I guess the big thing to come out of all this right now is that we've just learned that someone is in custody. A suspect has been arrested in all of this. But what else have you learned so far?
Well, that a suspect is in custody and multiple people are being treated at local hospitals. So that's all we know at this time. We also learned that police were having to go and clear rooms one by one, which was a sign that they had likely apprehended someone. But you never know if there is a second person, or law enforcement is always going to be wary of some other incident. So this is still a fluid situation, not resolved by any measure at this point. There are still students in their rooms. The school has not been cleared. The law enforcement alert that went out telling everyone to shelter in place, barricade doors, that has not changed. You see there on your screen the emergency message from Florida State University Tallahassee campus telling everyone to continue to shelter in place. And so far as we know, there has been no further guidance for people who are sheltering in place, who are there. You can imagine what it's like for the many people who are students and faculty and staff there on campus. But the FBI is there on scene assisting multiple agencies. In some of the footage you saw multiple ambulances lined up. So continuing to be a very fluid situation. We're only just now an hour and a half or so away from the beginning of this incident. So it's very early days. And of course, police are remaining vigilant and concerned for the safety of the people who remain on campus. So at this point, that's what we know. And hoping to get in more. All we're getting from the FBI right now is that they are on scene. That's from the local field office there in Tallahassee. A couple of different offices from the FBI have responded and are there assisting. And that just tells you just how large and what a major event that this was. We just heard our partners down there in Florida reporting they spoke to a student who heard about 12 gunshots, then a pause, and then about 15 more was his estimation. So that's a lot of rounds. So we will try to, of course, follow as law enforcement obtains surveillance footage. They can then do an audio analysis. They can do a video analysis to try to determine how many rounds were shot. The investigation begins now, and they're going to try to create a timeline going back from right this moment, right now, going back to the minutes, hours, days, and weeks leading up to the shooting. Motive is important, and all of this is important for prosecutors who will be building a case against the suspect. So it's very important for police to maintain the integrity of the investigation at these early hours. That's hard in a fluid situation, but they're trained to do just that. It's essentially secured like a crime scene. We saw footage of the entire university being barricaded, and so that's a big area to check. All of that entire surface area, so to speak, will be an integral part of the investigation. So that's a large area and challenging. So that speaks to why you'd have so much support there with local, state, and federal law enforcement assisting in this issue. You see there on your screen, you see students walking away, a lot of chaos. So here we see students with their hands up, exiting buildings. This was all part of the clearing operation that law enforcement was carrying out over the last hour or so. But you can imagine chaos, and there those students are doing a good job of going slowly. Now we see law enforcement vehicles outside. You see agents in tactical gear, multiple agents in tactical gear there. Some of them speaking on the phone. So they're still monitoring. They're still watching. They are vigilant even now that we're about an hour and a half after the event. You see there, look at all those dozens of law enforcement vehicles. That is a huge response and a warranted response. If the shooter wasn't apprehended immediately, that's a lot of territory that the individual could flee to and seek cover. So once that call came in, probably immediately there was that sort of triggered an effect to call in multiple agencies, given how much area there was to search and clear. That's a major operation. Even when the suspect has been apprehended, one, they're worried about somebody else, they're worried about a copycat. But if the suspect wasn't apprehended immediately, a very, very challenging situation for investigators.
Okay,
there you see his video from a student. Go ahead.
Anna Schechter, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And you know, as you were mentioning, the law enforcement out there, we know the FBI is there, state police is there as well, and also university police. So this is a wide range of law enforcement officers on the scene there investigating. So much more to come out of this, even as we know that a suspect has been arrested. Right now, I want to bring in Felipe Rodriguez for much more on this. He's a former NYPD detective sergeant and an adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Felipe, thank you so much for being with us today. Again, as we said earlier, we know a lot of law enforcement. They're at the scene right now. We saw video of lines and lines of cars. How do you think police are responding to this? What are they doing right now?
Well, when we look at it, right, it's going to be a huge multi-agency response. Florida, unlike New York, is a little bit different, right? We're going to have the Florida Department of Law Enforcement responding. But the initial agency is going to be the campus police, right? And they're going to be guiding the officers in their response and giving out additional information. You know, everyone talks about the FBI. The FBI will get there and respond, but they're more an investigative type situation where they're going to, once things are secure, help out. And at this time, everybody says, the students haven't been released. Everyone's still sheltering in place. You got to remember, the campus here is 42,000 students, right? And it's intermixed between residential areas and, the campus itself. So they do have a very arduous task of going through these, rooms one by one. And at the same time, you're trying to conduct what we call a digital forensic investigation, right? We have to find out, was this lone wolf gunman, or was he being aided by anybody? And also, do we have any sort of improvised explosive devices? So there's a myriad of things that are going on back and forth that investigators have to do. So here we are responding to the scene, trying to immediately, knock down that immediate threat concept, right? Get to that active shooter, take him out, and at the same time being mindful of any other or secondary devices that might have been planted. And then the situations where we begin to actually care for anyone that may be wounded. If the scene is not secure, we cannot provide aid. And these are hard decisions that cops have to make as they're going into that campus.
And Felipe, I think most will agree with this. The big information to come out of all of this is that that shooter has been arrested. But the question then is, what comes next after all of this? What are police officers, law enforcement, what are they going to be looking for next? Now that at least the big part, the suspect's out of the way, but what comes after this?
Like always, we're big about motive. We want to know why they did this. Was it a mental health issue? Was it the individual just going after one or two students that maybe he was disgruntled about? Motive is big, and it would help lead the investigation. But at this time, it's all digital forensics. We need to get into our incident command or the operational sector of the campus police and go over the CCTV. To make sure, any evidence that we might have missed, make sure that we do have the correct shooter, that he's not being aided by anybody. We're going to look into phone records. And the investigative process is still, constantly moving and fluid. We have to jump out there and make sure that we get search warrants for his residence or anywhere else he could be, because we really need to know what was behind his actions and what took place.
Yeah, and we also heard that 4 people, and this is from our partners at CBS Miami, they reported 4 people have been hospitalized, and that was before police officially said that a suspect was in custody. What we learned from that is that suspect apparently was also shot during all of this. From your experience, when police say, hey, 4 people are hospitalized, would that include the suspect in this?
We never usually try to include the suspect because the suspect is the suspect, but it goes to show you how the training has come into place, and also, who helped remove these injured students. It goes to show you that a lot of the training that's taking place is becoming helpful to, at this point, to only have 4 people injured, and I hope that's all it is. We never want anyone injured, but 4 in that aggressive manner that they were able to get, first aid and get to a hospital. It's really showing that, a lot of the programs that we're putting in place, they are working.
And I want to go back to what you said earlier, Felipe, just the importance of police having those students continue the shelter in place. Right now, we don't know exactly when the suspect was apprehended, arrested. We don't know the time frame of that. But in the meantime, for the longest time when all of this started, we were hearing students were still being told to shelter in place. I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but what is the reasoning for that? Having those students still shelter in place, and maybe at this point that suspect may have been arrested, but what's the point of having those students stay in the buildings wherever they are at that point?
That's a great question. It's always out of abundance of caution. We still haven't really secured everything. This is a massive campus. This is just not a 1 or 2 building shooting, a small campus. Also, we still have an active crime scene at this time. We might be still rendering first aid to someone, and we really don't want the crime scene being trampled on. It makes it harder for the investigation. It makes it harder for the prosecution. And once we have to make sure that everything is 100% safe, then law enforcement will release that. But there should be no rush at this time, so please be patient. Anyone that wants to respond to the location in care of a loved one, let the officers do their job. It's a very complex and difficult job, and you need to give them some time.
Yeah, and I just can't imagine what those students were going through, waiting to figure out when they could actually walk out of campus. Felipe Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us today and for your expertise on all of this. I want to bring back CBS News correspondent Chanel Call, who's still following this breaking news for us. Chanel, what is the latest?
Well, the latest this hour is sources are telling our partner station at CBS News Miami that the alleged shooter in this case is now in custody. We're also being told that that shooter was shot by police and then was taken to a local hospital. Now, this all, Mugo, started at around noon Eastern time. That's when FSU, Florida State University, had issued a campus-wide alert about an active shooter, telling people who were on campus to shelter in place. FSU had said this happened at the Student Union building. And as you can imagine, this is a vibrant and busy part of campus, especially during the lunch hour. These are some of the messages you'll see on your screen that were sent out on X by FSU, alerting people on campus to the situation. I want to show you a live shot from the scene if we can, because there are multiple first responders still on scene. That includes campus police, state police, FBI, and also hearing ATF is going to be going to the scene as well. And earlier this hour, we saw officers, agents who were there in tactical gear. So certainly a really massive response to the scene right now. Mugo, we've also learned that multiple people have been injured. Our affiliate CBS News Miami is reporting that 4 people have been sent to a hospital. The images that you're seeing right now, this video was taken by someone who was inside one of the buildings on campus. And you can see the large contingents of police that were on scene this hour. And a Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare representative is confirming to CBS News that people were injured. They say TMH is actively receiving and caring for patients. This is in a statement, Mugo, related to an incident that occurred at Florida State University. At this time, they say details are still unfolding, and we do not yet have specific information to share. However, we want to assure the community that our teams are fully mobilized and prepared to provide the highest level of care and support to all those affected. All right, in terms of guidance to students on campus right now, the latest we have from FSU is this message. It says, continue to shelter in place. Law enforcement is actively clearing rooms on the main campus. Law enforcement officers will use the safe word Seminole to confirm it is safe to open the door. Continue to shelter in place until law enforcement contacts you. And while students are sheltering in place, all the activities and classes that would have taken place today are now canceled. I mean, take a look at this video. It is so stunning to see these students sort of rushing out in, the haze of a very fluid situation like this. We're also this hour, Mugo, hearing from state and federal officials. They're responding to this very active, intense situation. Governor Ron DeSantis tweeting this moments ago saying, our prayers are with our FSU family and state law enforcement is actively responding. Attorney General Pam Bondi also releasing a statement saying, our priority is the safety of everyone involved. We will keep updating as we learn more. Praying for all. And Mugo, we're also told FBI Director Kash Patel and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem have been briefed on this shooting. And then just moments ago, just saw this email here. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has saying the president has been briefed on the shooting at Florida State University, and the White House is actively monitoring the situation. So, Mugo, again, 4 people we know have been injured. The alleged shooter, sources telling CBS News Miami, they are in police custody right now. And that shooter apparently was also injured during the incident and is now in a hospital.
Okay, Chanel Call, thank you so much for that information. As you just heard from Chanel, the president has been briefed on the shooting at FSU, and here's what he had to say just moments ago.
Everybody, and I've been briefed on the Florida State University, Tallahassee active shooting. I guess it's an active shooter. Fully briefed as to where we are right now. It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place. And we'll have more to say about it later. In the meantime, it's an honor to have.
And now let's take you back to our partners at CBS News Miami for their coverage of this on the ground. Listen.
At least 4 people were hurt, but the newest information is now that 6 patients are being treated, 1 in critical condition and the rest in serious condition. We know at least one of those patients potentially is the active shooter who officials tell us was shot. But the newest information coming in. Okay, my producer communicating with me now, saying that we have sound from a student who saw the whole thing unfold.
I was parking my car, walking back, and as I was walking back, I see these group of girls crying, really upset, walking back from the student union, told me they heard gunshots, and they just ran and came back to their apartment where I was walking to. I'm scared for my friends. I'm making sure I'm checking up on them, and I just hope everyone's okay and this gets handled soon. I just feel awful for the students on there having to go through these emotions right now, dealing with scared for their lives, honestly.
And just want to confirm this information I'm getting about the latest injuries is actually from Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Their communications manager, Sarah Cannon, communicating with us right now from Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, saying and confirming that 6 patients are at TMH, 1 in critical condition, the rest in serious condition. And that is up from the 4 that we originally reported. We know that potentially one of those people is the active shooter, him or herself. Officials say that they got into some sort of exchange with that shooter and that active shooter was shot. But the newest information coming to us right now, according to Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, is that they are treating a total of 6 patients, 1 in critical condition and the rest in serious condition. We've heard from a number of students who experienced this themselves today. We heard from Viviana Chavez, a mother of 2 FSU students, who described for us what it was like hearing that there was an active shooter on campus and then confirming that her children were okay. She had 2 children on FSU campus, so she was just terrifying for her to hear this happening in real time and know that her children could potentially be affected, and was just so relieved when she heard they were okay. We've heard from Ava Ariando. She's a FSU student that actually sheltered in place. And we also heard some riveting experience from Blake Leonard. He was the FSU student who evacuated from campus after actually hearing those gunshots. He described hearing 12 shots and then a lull and then 15 shots, and knowing that they were close enough to him because he said he could literally hear them ricocheting off a building, and he was running along with dozens of other students who were just trying to get away from that union gathering area. We also heard from a CBS News Miami colleague who graduated from FSU just 2 years ago, and he described the layout of the campus and basically said that this union area is really a gathering place, that a lot of students congregate there, so a very dangerous situation to have an active shooter with potentially a lot of human targets in that isolated space. We also heard from a former law enforcement official with Miami Gardens, or current law enforcement official, I should say. She was a FSU alum and former Tally police officer, and she spoke to us from an official level about how they respond to situations like this, but also just from an emotional level, you know, covering things like this all too often, and then how close it just hits to home for her. We are taking a live look right now, and I do hear a reporter at the scene. So as soon as we get another reporter up, we'll certainly take that. But the newest information in is that a total of 6 people are hurt. That is up from 4. The Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare Services is confirming that for us. Okay. We have a student.
Okay, we are back now here at CBS News 24/7. You were just listening to our partners from CBS News Miami. The latest to come out of that shooting at Florida State University. We know 6 people injured. We're told 1 person is in critical condition, the others in serious condition. Right now, I want to bring in Ryan Cedergran. He is a student at Florida State University, just to get much more from him about what happened. Ryan, first off, I'm sorry that this happened at your campus. I just kind of want to know what happened in the moments that all of this unfolded. What do you know? What are you hearing from friends?
Yeah, I was in the student union at the time and in the bowling alley. And so our student union, there's the main floor and then there's the lower level. The bowling alley is on the lower level. And the lower level has a bowling alley, and then we have doors, and then next to it is a bar. And the bar is open to the entire union, where there's no doors. It's just kind of an open space. And all of a sudden, everyone in the bar area started running. And that was when we all kind of were like, this isn't normal. This isn't right. We need to go do something.
And so, Ryan, I just want to be clear here. You were in that student union building, because we're hearing that the shooting happened either around there or inside that building. So you were in that building at the time? I
was, yes.
And so did you hear any gunshots, or you just saw students running and decided, okay, there's something going on here?
Yeah, I didn't hear any gunshots. My first instinct was something's not right here, and we need to, go shelter somewhere, because everyone immediately running is not normal.
Yeah. And Ryan, where are you right now? Were you able to get out of that student union building and head back to somewhere else on campus? Where are you?
I'm back in my apartment now, yes.
And have you heard anything from your friends? We know several people, sadly, have been injured in this. One of them is in critical condition. Have you heard anything from your friends? Anyone that you're concerned about right now?
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know of any friends that were in the building at the time. But I do know that, we just went and protected ourselves, and I've had so many people reaching out to me because the student union, I work in the student union. I spent a lot of time there, and I wasn't on shift at the time, but I was, just hanging out there along with a lot of other people at the time. It's the hub of campus. It's a union.
And Ryan, I completely hate to say this, because oftentimes we hear about school shootings, whether it's at a university or high school, elementary, and you just imagine, well, that sounds super far away and that will never happen to me. I want to know what's going through your head right now. How are you feeling after all this?
Yeah, it's some of it's a state of shock. There's that going on, and then there's shock, there's gratitude. I could not be more grateful for being here, and then also for the first responders, the Florida State University Police, the Tallahassee Police. I was calm, I think, throughout most of it. There were people around me that were panicking, but I just was like, I trust that Florida State Police is going to be here within a matter of moments, and just do what I can and now to be safe, and then just wait for police to come help us out.
Ryan, can you take me back to that moment? I know you said you saw, it sort of just sounded like commotion. You didn't hear any gunshots, but you saw people running out. What did you guys do? Did you run out of the building, or were you hoping that maybe police officers would show up and tell you guys what to do next?
We immediately hid. We first hid in the billiards room of the bowling alley, which is glass. It's open to the front, but it's kind of around a corner. So we were able to kind of almost put another wall between us and the outside, but it was also glass. So once we saw police get down to the lower level was when we went and hid further behind the bowling machines, which, has doors that we're able to lock. And then it was probably about 10, 15 minutes until the police came and escorted us out of the building.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you guys did not run out of the building. You ran somewhere else to shelter in place and waited for police to lead you out of the building.
Yeah, we did not. Yeah, we did not know what was going on. So in the moment, we were just like, we know we're safe here. Let's protect ourselves first, and then go from there.
And can you talk to me about the security situation at that union building? Because typically, of course, you have police on campus. Most campuses have police officers. But that building, do you typically see security officers around the place roaming?
There are police around a good bit of the time. It's not always, but it's a good bit of the time that we'll see them just going in and out of the union. And then we, the headquarters for the police is minutes away. It's in a hub of campus, so they're, if they're not in the building, they were, close enough to the building, and it was within, a few minutes, I believe, that they were on scene, and I'm just so grateful to them.
Yeah, I know this was a very, very difficult situation for you. We really appreciate it. Right now, Lindsay Reiser's next. Stay with us here on CBS News.